Okay, so the second problem says, describe the transformations, graph the following equation by plotting at least 5 points, including the vertex. So when they're asking us to do so, what they're asking us to do is they're asking us to plot the graph based on the transformation. So this is not a problem that you have, unless we could do one of these problems. So it says f of x is equal to negative 2x plus 2 squared plus 5. So when they ask us to identify the transformations, I would recommend going to the graphic organizer that's in the notes for Unit 2. There's a graphic organizer talking about what do the numbers mean, right? What do the numbers mean? And this is also in the first part of your notes. So one thing we can identify is that if this is being added in the inside, right, on the inside, this means this is moving 2 to the left, right? So we know that this is being moved 2 to the left because of the number is being added in the inside. If the number is being moved or being added on the outside, we know that that is going to move 5 up. If it was being subtracted on the outside, it would be moved 5 down. Right? Because of this 2 here, we know there is a vertical stretch of 2. So because of that 2 there, we know that it's being vertically stretched, right? And the last thing that you should identify is that there's a negative in front of the whole equation. In that case, we can identify that there is a reflection over the x-axis. Okay, so you should be able to identify all 4 of these transformations. If you are not ready, again, you should go back, do the other work that you had before. We did some practice problems on these, but you should be able to identify the different reflections, vertical stretch or vertical compression, if it's being moved left, right, up, or down. Okay, so those are the things that you want to be ready for on the test. Okay. So the first part asks us to identify the transformations. So the second thing is it tells us to plot the points, right? It tells us to plot at least 5 points. So how we identify which points to plot is that we want to make an X and Y chart. So here I'm going to go ahead and put the vertex right in the middle. So the vertex, since it's being moved 2 to the left and then 5 up, I can identify that my vertex is 2 to the left, which is negative 2, and then 5 up, which is 5, right? So I already know that my vertex is being moved 2 to the left and 5 up, which helps me to identify the vertex as negative 2, 5. So again, this is not a problem on today's homework, but it is just an example problem. So again, I would just copy it down in the case that you do want to, if you need this. Let me get a closer look. So how do I pick the points? And again, I'm going to pick points that are close to the vertex. So the closest numbers that I can think about to the vertex is negative 3, negative 4, negative 1, and 0, because as you can see, those points are the closest points, the closest whole numbers to the vertex, right? The vertex is negative 2, 5, and so I'm going to pick x values that are super close to my vertex. Okay, so I'm going to pick numbers that are super close to my vertex because then it just gives me pretty easy numbers to figure out. So what's actually happening is I'm going to actually plug these numbers into my equation and then solve, right? I'm going to plug these numbers into my equation and solve. But if you remember from last time, if I plug in 2 numbers, and again, I'm picking 2 numbers, so 2 of these numbers are to the left of my vertex and 2 are to the right, I only need to solve for 2 of them because, again, it's a mirror image of each other. So let me go ahead and show you. So I'm going to actually use these two numbers because they're a little bit easier when I plug them in. So f of -1. So again, what I'm doing is I'm plugging -1 into my equation. So I have -2 times -1 plus 2 is just saying you start at -1, you move 2 in the right direction. In the positive direction, you get 1 squared plus 5. We get -2 times 1 squared, which is just -2 plus 5. And we get +3. So for -1, we get -1 comma 3. That is our point. And so our y value there is -1 comma 3. So we get one coordinate there. The next thing we want to do is we want to find another coordinate. So we have -2 times, and then this time we're plugging in 0. Okay. So this time we're plugging in 0. Go ahead and move this down. We get -2 times 0 plus 2 is equal to 2. We get -2 times 4 plus 5, that's equal to -8 plus 5, and we get -3. Okay, something seems wrong here, but let me see. -1, 0. Oh, it's a stretch. Okay. So you can see here when I plug in the point 0 and I get the value of -3, that gives me the coordinates 0, -3. The reason is I plug in 0 and I get a value, an output of -3, and so now I have these coordinates. Now you're wondering, wow, do I have to do this for all of them? Well, you only have to do this for 2 because, again, it's a mirror image. So then I already know that for -3, it's going to be 3, and for 0, it's going to be -3, right? Again, I know it's a mirror image, so then automatically I can go ahead and say, and plug that in. -4, -2, 4, -8, -3. Okay, yep. So after I find my values, I can go ahead and plot this as a graph. And I'm just going to go ahead and sketch a graph here. So the first point that I can plot is my vertex, which is -2. So I go 2 to the left, 5 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have -1, 3, so -1, 1, 2, 3. And then I can plot the mirror image. Oops, it should be right here. And then I have 0, -3, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I can plot the mirror image, which is right here. So I would get the graph that looks like this. Okay. So the graph would look something like that. So again, the first part should be to identify how is this graph being translated, how is it being reflected, is it being stretched or compressed? And then after that, what you want to do is you want to make an XY table. And you want to solve for 2 of the points. And then once you solve for 2 of the points, you can solve for the other 2 automatically because we know this is a reflection. So whatever 2 points you find on the right side, the 2 points on the left side will be exactly the same, except mirrored over.